Some of the people who would like to see Sharp Park either destroyed or given away like to claim that the city is subsidizing the golf at Sharp Park. It's simply not true. The finances for Sharp Park are actually pretty straightforward. This is from a Rec and Park presentation to the Prozac Advisory Group on November 4th of 2009. It's got the actual financials for Sharp Park for fiscal year 2009. As you can see, in green fees, golfers paid $1.2 million in green fees, and another $100,000 comes in concessions. So the park grosses, the golf course grosses about $1.3 million. Now, this is the interesting point. There's also the city charges overhead charges of almost $250,000 against the park. This is money that is transferred from Sharp Park revenues into the city coffers. So these are legitimate charges. Any city does this, but the point is this is money that is coming out of the green fees and out of the revenue for Sharp Park Golf that is actually, in fact, subsidizing other costs in the city. Now, when you include that in there, in 2009, we wind up with $1.2 million in costs, and there's still a $99,000 surplus afterwards. Now, some years that surplus is actually a deficit, but it's always less than the amount that the city charges in overhead charges, which means that, in point of fact, the city of San Francisco services and salaries for these overhead charges are subsidized by the golfers of Sharp Park.
The City of San Francisco is not aligning its budget with the priorities of San Francisco residents. San Francisco community services are being cut, yet San Francisco is proposing to subsidize the Sharp Park Golf Course in Pacifica that loses up to $300,000 a year and has capital costs of $50 million. Now that is an injustice. Sharp Park is a perfect example of wasteful spending in San Francisco. Think what community services can do with $300,000. And even $50 million.
I just wanted to say that I think we should close Sharp Park Golf Course down and then turn it into a wildlife and recreational area. We already supply over 6 billion more rounds of golf in the Bay Area than are used. Why would we invest more money to save a golf course that is not needed and that is costing the city of San Francisco $300,000 a year?
Ultimately, the Sharp Park Golf Course will cost the city millions of dollars in the future. While you're considering the health and future of San Francisco, what does Pacifica and a golf course there have to do with you? Please consider your citizens in your city as the first priority. Thank you.
But I can't believe the city of San Francisco can't find a way to take money earmarked for a San Mateo golf course and aim it toward the at-risk youth in San Francisco.
I just want to say we've heard so much tonight. All these services that are needed for elder care, adult protective services, suicide prevention, baby care, children education, education for kids and other marginalized or underprivileged youth in the arts, seniors, veterans. Do we really want to still consider subsidizing Sharp Park?
I'm concerned about this issue of Sharp Park Golf Course, and if San Francisco is actually aligning its budget with its priorities, I don't see how it is with the amount of money that we're spending here and losing on this Pacifica golf course. But you do have a choice to make. And just hearing today in my short time today, here are some choices that you have. You have, on one hand, to restore youth development centers in San Francisco, subsidize Pacifica Golf Course. Restore schools that offer technical skills that give youth and young adults the confidence that they need as they enter an ever-challenging workforce. On the other hand, Pacifica Golf Course.
Good evening, supervisors. My name is Brent Plater. I run a nonprofit organization called the Wild Equity Institute, and our work finds us at the intersection of social justice and environmental movements, and that's why the budget process here in San Francisco is so important to us. you have an opportunity here as well as a crisis. The crisis we all know about, their times are tight, people have to tighten their belts, but you also have an opportunity to realign budget priorities with our values and our priorities. And what we know at Sharp Park is every projection that has been made by Recreation and Parks Department, by private consultants hired by the Parks Department, by independent journalists such as this article that my colleague Neil just referenced from the SF Weekly, Peter Jameson wrote, that Sharp Park is costing more money to the city of San Francisco than it brings in. It costs us $300,000, upwards of $300,000 annually, and it requires at least $17 million in capital investments just to improve the course to the point where you can charge more to play around. And that's where we have the opportunity to take the $300,000 we're losing annually at Sharp Park and reinvest that here in San Francisco, stop subsidizing golf in San Mateo County, and partner with people in Pacifica and the National Park Service to build a better park, a park that everybody can use, not just golfers, a park that will preserve the environment while allowing us to redirect the money we save back home to our neighborhood parks, our community services, and even perhaps some of our golf courses. We all know Lincoln could use a little extra care. So I want to urge you to consider aligning our priorities in the budget with where we spend our money by thinking about how we can reduce expenditures at Sharp Park by partnering with the National Park and bringing that money back home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Time for a song.
Walter Paulson, good evening, Budget and Finance. This is about taxing downtown, because I heard it needs to be taxed downtown. They say the neon tax should be brighter downtown. There needs to be more magic tax down there. But how you gonna make some downtown city time when all you got is one tax dime?
The math on Sharp Park finances is pretty straightforward, but for those who are more graphically oriented, I prepared this visual aid. Each penny here represents $10,000 or 3-4 days worth of green fees. Sharp Park on the left, San Francisco City Hall on the right. Golfers contribute $1.2 million in green fees to Sharp Park in 2009. Those are real numbers, round numbers, but real numbers. In addition, an additional $100,000 is raised by Sharp Park through concessions. So that's $1.3 million in gross proceeds from Sharp Park, revenue coming in. Now, of course, it takes some money to run a golf course. In 2009, that amount of expenses at Sharp Park to run the operations of the golf course was $970,000. So let's remove $900,000. Now, the city of San Francisco also charges Sharp Park what's called an operational fee, as it does all departments in the city government. So that in 2009 was $250,000 in overhead charges, $250,000 in overhead charges in San Francisco city coffers, subsidizing other city salaries and services, and $700,000, $70,000 or $80,000 surplus in Sharp Park. Here's the point. What would happen if, as the opponents of Sharp Park represent, that Sharp Park was closed down? If Sharp Park was closed down, there is no surplus. There's also no subsidies for the city. San Francisco services are going to have to be closed and removed in order to make up for the shortfall. Pretty simple, really.
Downtown, all the way to Broadway. Downtown to Broadway. Down, tax downtown.
Thank you very much.